Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Middle School GSA. I'm Felonious Ferris, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Demigloom, and my pronouns are she, her.
Well, Demigloom, how are you doing? What are we doing today?
We really need to start organizing this better. I'm doing fantastic. I'm having one of the best days of my life. Let's start. So I wanted to get some McDonald's breakfast, right? Because who doesn't want to get some? What does a moment pass in anyone's life where they wouldn't rather be eating some McDonald's breakfast? That's a question that I don't think will ever be answered. McDonald's breakfast is just beautiful. It's the most delicious thing ever. And I tried to order some with DoorDash. This was my first time using DoorDash in the city that I live in, which doesn't have a whole lot of stuff nearby. So it would have to order from the next city over. And I think, whatever, okay. I place my order, it charges me and everything, and it just starts delivering. I put in my address, but it starts delivering to some completely random address in a different city, like a really far away city that I can't name. But it was really bizarre. And it took me like 30 minutes of talking to a robot with a customer service hotline to get my money back. And by the time I got my money back, I couldn't order McDonald's breakfast because McDonald's wasn't serving breakfast anymore. So I went McDonald's breakfastless this morning. And that's really just the worst way to start off a day. Then I find out that the one thing that I was looking forward to that wasn't Middle School GSA over the past month was canceled just one day in advance. Because my friend is too stupid to request off of work on time. It was like, oh yeah, I just didn't request off of work, so we can't do it. Fuck you. And we were gonna go watch the Mario movie, right? And now I have $20 worth of discount candy from Walmart and no one to share it with. And then I tried to make brats for dinner. I made them the same exact way I did last time, but for some reason they were completely fucking burnt. I just got some, and in my defeat with these disgusting burnt brats, I walked to the gas station and bought some mac and cheese. And I don't know if I was too stressed to put in the right amount of water, or if I don't know, if I'm just fucking stupid, but the mac and cheese was completely butchered too. It was inedible, so I had to throw that out, and I didn't eat anything, and I just hopped in this Discord call. And I hate my life. I yearn for nothing but death. Nothing but the sweet relief of the absence of life. I fucking hate everything.
That's not good.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm all right. I've started playing Dark Souls again. And when I get into playing a video game, I play it continuously for a few weeks and then drop it for months.
Yeah.
So I've beaten 4 bosses today. Even though I'm not particularly good at the game. But yeah.
Is it a good game? I've never played it.
Yes, it is a good game. There's a lot of shitty game design moments. There's a lot of stuff. See, some people say, "Oh, I played through completely blind." But there's all this stuff where there's secrets and areas that you would just never find if you didn't look at a guide. And there's characters.
Is it an RPG?
Yes.
That's the case in all RPGs.
No, but it's bad. There's very important characters with very important quest lines that are completely hidden, and if you don't go and talk to them right that exact second, their quest line is done forever. Or there's shit that would be just so much easier if you knew, oh yeah, if you jump off this random ledge, there's a bonfire that you can respawn at. Just very frustrating. There was, I got to New Londo, and there's an area of the map where just no earthly clue how to progress the game. And it turns out you have to tightrope walk across this weird little thing that no one would fucking think to try and tightrope walk across. And that's the only way to progress.
I think in theory, RPGs make a lot of things difficult to find or like just kind of randomly placed. So like each player has a different experience, like a pretty personal experience with the game, whereas when they replay the game, they discover basically to encourage exploration, and each person's experience with the game is different because they explored and discovered different things. But when they make like central game points, central gameplay like hidden behind stupid secrets and shit, it's really really bad. Like the original Zelda, like Zelda 1 and even Zelda 2 are completely fucking unplayable if you haven't played the game before or have a friend with you who has, or just watch a YouTube video on how to do like half of the shit, because it's so random and everything's just so hidden, and there's like 50,000 blocks that look exactly the same, but you can only push one of them, and it's just a wild guess, and there's like 50 different rooms and only one of them has the thing you need. It's just so shitty. It's so terrible. I fucking hate RPGs. All RPGs are terrible. They're like inherently flawed, and I fucking hate them.
I'm enjoying myself anyways because I have my nice fightin' cowboy guide to lead me on my way. Also, both in real life and in video games, I just don't perceive my surroundings. So I really need someone to tell me, oh yeah, there's a staircase there that you need to go down. Otherwise, I just won't, and I'll just be lost, and I'll be missing out on all of these important things.
Anyways, we do have comments to read, and I don't remember if any of them are good. The last episode was controversial because I chose not to read every single comment, and our good friend Squeebo got really mad that I didn't read one of their comments. So I'll do that right now. They left this comment on the social anxiety episode. What does it say? I cried so much when Rosa Parks shot Rosinante. Is this a One Piece thing?
Rosinante, yes.
Rosinante. Maybe that's why law is anti-civil rights. I don't know what the fuck that means. But yeah, they commented that.
So are we saying that Don Quixote del Flamingo and Rosa Parks are like they're equivalent in their universes, like they're on each other's kin lists? I just, that's a really really bold thing to say. That's a really bold assertion, and I respect the boldness of it. I do not agree, but yes.
Yeah. Well, on the last episode, we got a comment from Zane that says, "Woohoo! MSMSMGMGMA." I appreciate the enthusiasm. Satfem, a great musician who I've collaborated with one time. We made a very terrible song called Postalgia, and it's out on Spotify, but it's like really, really, really fucking terrible, and I hate our song together, particularly the stuff that I did. But they make really great music elsewhere. You guys should go check out Sadfem. She says, these motherfuckers spittin'. Also, I don't care what anyone thinks. I'ma come out and say it. Frick rapists and frick racists. True. Very brave of you.
So
very brave of you to take such
stunning.
A bold stance. Pepito says, I agree with Demigloom and disagree with Felonious Ferris about this week's topic of performative activists. I don't know who Pepito is, but they commented on another episode of ours saying that they wanted Riley to guest, which we'll probably get Riley on one of these episodes pretty soon. He says he's willing to come on and talk about free speech, which is an issue he's very passionate about because of course he is. Okay. Yeah, well, we can talk about that another time. But Pepito seems to have like a really, not super extensive, but like a decent knowledge of Riley lore, and Riley doesn't know who the hell this person is.
Oh my god.
So I don't know. Could be someone from the past, could be someone from the present, who knows. could be a new fan.
I want
David Fern.
hold on.
Go on.
I want them. I want to know why they disagree with me. I feel like me and Demigloom agree on most things, and I don't remember what we disagreed on. So you need to tell me. Tell me, please.
No, what they said is they disagreed on the topic, like
What?
the idea of having an episode about performative activists because you chose the topic.
Did I? Damn.
You chose performative activists. You were specifically like, I really want to talk about performative activists.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how they know that, because I don't know if we
say
said that on the show. So maybe they have inside information. Maybe it's like Squeebo's alt account or something. I don't know. But I don't think... But there's also information about Riley that Squeebo wouldn't know in a previous comment, so I don't know who the hell this person is. I think they're from Demi and the Goons, maybe? Which is that stupid Breaking Bad meme channel that I had that has over 1,200,000 views. I don't know. But David Fern says, one thing that contributes to performative activism is the way that social media algorithms encourage vapid, one-dimensional takes. Everything has character limits or needs to be quick and snappy, so all nuance is lost. Like with the mainstream news thing, there's plenty of genuine criticisms with how they need to sensationalize things for ratings, retain corporate sponsors, and maintain an image of neutrality that often leads them to platform lies and insane ideas for the sake of fairness. But because those are all nuanced and complex issues, the conversation instead defaults to the lamestream media is brainwashing you with their lies. Don't believe the liberal propaganda, which is just stupid and untrue. It turns everything into one side versus the other and kills any productive discussion or thought. By the way, I live in Florida, so unfortunately, I don't secretly know you in real life. Did we imply that David Fern secretly knew us in real life?
Yes.
I don't know.
I think so. But
Of course they live in Florida.
David Fern, based as always. So true.
Is David Fern a Florida man?
Perhaps. No, David Fern, see, I have this image, this character that I've constructed in my head that is David Fern, and I feel like David Fern is very mild-mannered and thoughtful in real life, which feels like the antithesis to Florida man.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I agree with the majority of things that were said. I don't think mainstream news has... I've heard similar rhetoric of people saying like, oh, the mainstream news is platforming Marjorie Taylor Greene, when in reality it's like I just firmly believe that the public needs to have an accurate understanding of what's going on all across the political spectrum as far as like elected officials go, and we need to be super informed about who's saying what so we can have an accurate understanding of what's going on and make our decisions and act accordingly. I think not understanding the other side has led to a lot of the problems I talked about in the performative activist episode. Just a misunderstanding of why people believe in what they believe in and what it is they actually advocate for. I just think it's really important to understand each other, not because I'm saying like, oh, why can't we all just get along? Why can't white supremacists and fucking anarcho-communists on Twitter get along? I'm not even trying to push this weird why can't we all be friends thing. I just genuinely believe that if we have a better understanding of our enemy, we can have a better understanding of ourselves and how we can combat them. So I don't believe in like this idea that we can't inform people about what others are saying, and that's like somehow platforming bad ideas.
I believe in inviting these like crazy ideology people on for the express purpose of just completely debunking it, and just see we had a conversation like this. I'm not sure if it was on recording, but I think it is really useful to roast bigots live on the air and just make them look like complete idiots. Because then
I think there's a place for that, but I also think there's a place to like formally interview someone like Donald Trump.
Yes.
And not just be like, Donald Trump, you're racist. What do you have to say to me? What do you have to say to me? I'm calling you racist. How does that make you feel, Trump? How does that make you feel? That's not productive at all. That doesn't accomplish shit.
That's not productive.
I think
But I think
No, that's not. But that's what people do. That's what a lot of even like CNN reporters will do this shit, where they just like basically say you're the bad thing. How do you feel about that? And they'll just be like, it's not true, or fuck off. And that just makes you look stupid. It just makes them look smart.
That's just bad journalism.
It's terrible journalism. I think there's also a place to just like formally interview people like Donald Trump or Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I think that whole like debunking part like is done better when it's like a commentary on a formal interview. So you give the person the space, you provide the person the space to express themselves. I don't know if I should say safely, but like unfiltered. Like you're not pressuring them to, act a certain way. You're just getting their unfiltered thoughts. Well, obviously a politician's thoughts are always going to be filtered when it comes to making public statements, but you're not like manufacturing a particular kind of response necessarily. You're more so just trying to genuinely understand what they believe in. And then you can have somebody like fucking John Oliver like react to the interview and debunk the particular talking points. I think.
Wait, well,
I don't.
But if you just straight up interview them, get them to give all of their reasoning behind their ideologies, some people might see that and might not have the insight to be able to know why it's wrong. And that's where platforming bad people really becomes a huge issue.
Well, that's the thing is, I believe everyone should have an accurate understanding of what people believe in, but I also don't think that it's not. I don't think it's the job of people like. Basically, I'm saying like the debunking role isn't necessarily the job of the interviewer. It's definitely the job of the network. It's the job of journalism as a whole, but it's not the job of the interviewer within the interview. I think a lot of like a lot of like written articles and shit are way better than. I don't like the confrontational interviewing thing. It's just not productive, and it never accomplishes what it sets out to accomplish.
I
think there are
disagree,
much better ways. I don't think combatively interviewing people has recently been super successful. It's not been a super successful way to make people look super dumb or to actually illustrate the flaws in people's arguments. Get the fuck out of here, Squeebo.
Squeebo.
Okay, they're muted. They can listen. I don't care. Yeah. And if you're good, if you're like a good like investigative journalist or whatever, then fucking props to you. Go do that shit. But like, I don't think that a lot of people in the mainstream media who are like confronting politicians and just throwing out like bad adjectives at them are really doing a whole lot to actually advocate for anything.
I think that your issue is with bad journalism.
Yes.
that's
and I think
your
most
issue.
journalists are bad.
It's not with the
my issue is the current state of journalism. The current state of journalism, and this is a product of the current state of journalism. The way in which this is carried out frequently is bad because journalism is bad.
No,
journalism isn't bad.
If you just interview someone, like interview a Nazi and let them talk about how IQ is lower in Africa and all of this stuff, and then you don't do anything to put that into context or to debunk that. If someone watches just that interview, they might walk away being racist afterwards. I think that's really playing with fire. I think it has a lot of potential to be really harmful.
I agree with that, but I just think the interview itself, I'm not even saying the context in which the interview is presented or the way the network reacts to the interview or the way the network comments on the interview doesn't need to be combative. I just think the interview itself, the person sitting down with the camera, should be providing them with an opportunity to speak unfiltered and say what they actually want to say. Because when they don't say what they actually want to say, you get people who genuinely believe that people like Donald Trump aren't racist or homophobic.
But when... Hold on. If I feel like, see, this is, Riley's gonna love this. I feel like that actually causes a free speech issue. If you just straight up interview them and do nothing to, like, question further, like, and debunk what they're saying, and then you just debunk it later in the editing process.
That's a debate, though. You're talking about a debate. That's not an interview. That's a debate.
I think that the debate is better. I think that it.
Okay, I agree. I'm a fucking debate bro. I love debates.
It gives more depth to people's arguments, and if you just debunk later in the editing process, that's not fair because they don't have a chance to elaborate on what they're thinking.
If you want to talk about debate, then I firmly believe in debate. And I think debates are way better than interviews for actually getting to understand somebody's positions.
Okay,
and
so we agree.
Their actual logic behind everything.
We agree.
Okay, yeah, I just don't think... Can we just replace interviews with debates?
Yes.
Then? But like actual debates,
yes.
Not just like journalism's like, you're racist, lol.
Yes.
What are you gonna say? What do you got to say to that? Trump owned, mic dropped. Like it's stupid. It's fucking dumb.
Yes.
It's a waste of time.
Yes.
And journalism, interviews are not a great place for the debate to take place. Debate is, first of all, I truly believe debate is an art form. I think analysis and argument is an artistic medium, but that's a really hot take that I won't even bother to defend right now.
I agree.
Like I have an appreciation for the art and sport of debate in a way that goes beyond just like my desire to advocate for my own positions. Like it's hard to explain, but it's just like rhetorical strategies and all that type of shit. The argumentative process of constructing an argument. The argumentative process.
I want us to go back to the days where we just publish arguments where people write angry letters to each other back and forth, because I hate my ability to verbally debate people. I like being able to think through everything that I'm saying and going back and looking at it.
That's why I also like written articles way better than the fucking like the CNN or like Fox News shit where it's like the four like basically webcams. Other people are like, yeah, well, there's a lot of things to unpack when we watch this. Like, I don't like that shit. I love that I'm saying that on a podcast, but
I think that some of it is good. I genuinely think
written articles are, it can be good, and the main thing is that it's digestible for your average person, which is the goal. I just think as far as actually educating yourself goes, like reading articles will get you so much further than watching clips from the O'Reilly Factor or CNN.
I don't know. Articles are also from a single perspective. I think that it's really helpful to have like a whole panel of people who are experts in these specific parts of each issue and have them all give their perspective and maybe argue with each other a little bit, because that gives
when
them
they're
more
in like
depth.
I think that's better when they're in like a courtroom or like some kind of hearing than like 4 face cams with like a 2-minute and 47-second timer where they have to just cram as much as they possibly can in the shortest amount of time. I just think
the quality
it's
isn't
just a
always
shitty format.
The quality isn't always consistent, which is an issue, but I think that it can go really far when it's done correctly and well.
It can, and it's digestible for most people, but I just think as far as legitimately, like individual people, if they want to actually educate themselves about issues, I strongly recommend just reading a fuck ton of articles on everything. There's a lot of, familiarizing yourself with the different outlets and their perspectives and biases, and just, I don't know, just fucking read. People make America read again, man. I don't understand this of aversion to just reading. I don't understand why nobody wants to fucking read anything anymore, but it's infinitely superior to a lot of other ways we consume our information.
I actually see we're gonna just talk about this the entire time, but I have strong feelings about this. So you know how in a lot of red states, education is just being completely gutted. I worry a
Of
lot
course.
that the ultimate goal of that is to reduce people's reading levels so that they can't go out and read things to educate themselves. And I also, if you read articles from like the fake news sources and the far right just crazy news sources, the reading levels are often very low. It's very easy to read and understand. And then I look and I go somewhere like the New York Times, just for instance, and the reading level is generally a lot higher. And I worry that it might be an accessibility issue. Like, people's reading levels may not be high enough to truly understand what is happening in the article. And that sounds like an underhanded shot at the intelligence of people on the right wing, but that's not true at all. I believe that it's just a matter of quality of education.
That's completely fair, actually. I have noticed that if you go on like fucking Stormfront or even like just Fox News or anything right of center, all the way to the far right, the reading level it's significantly lower. It's less I think the more okay, so first of all, reality has a left-wing bias, okay? So all the good journalism is going to be like left-leaning or at least left of center. That's just my personal opinion. But all that shit like is it's more like uptight, or they keep up this like image that they're more sophisticated and respectable,
Mm-hmm.
and they use like I wouldn't say academic language, but you could just tell by the way that it's worded. It's worded in such a way that it's very dense vocabulary and less it's just less easy for the brain to
Yes.
process.
And this is
And that's
something
that's 100% an issue.
this is something that I think about a lot and that worries me so intensely. This is something I initially noticed when I started going on Truth Social and had people cite articles for their arguments, like for CNC and stuff like that, just complete bullshit. Um, and it actually, I'm so deeply concerned about it. Like, what if it is just an accessibility of information thing, and that's why people are reading and believing stuff from Fox News rather than stuff from people who are actually attached to reality.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly.
We should probably start talking about guns, shouldn't we?
Yeah, did we read all the comments? I think we did. Yeah. Oh, somebody Duck YOLO commented, "What are pronouns?" And I commented like a paragraph long response, and I'm pretty sure the person was just joking. And I actually like explained what pronouns were. But
I think
anyways,
it's better to explain than not to explain, just in case.
yeah, just in case. If someone legitimately doesn't know what pronouns are, like I'm just horrified for how they're gonna react to a lot of news or just shit. Like if you don't know what pronouns are and society is telling you to blindly accept a lot of quote unquote woke gender ideology, like you're not ready, you're not ready. You're not ready to understand. I totally get the conservatives who are just like how this shit is confusing as hell, and people are like it's really not. Like oh, you're evil for not understanding. Like
I hate
I
that
legitimately
shit.
I didn't even like I just straight up I was a little I did exhibit a certain amount of transphobia that was mostly internalized when I was younger, but like by the time I transferred to the school where we met, I I was pretty much fully on board with the thing, but I just didn't get they them pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the privilege of being surrounded by people who are willing to explain it to me, but I see other people who are like, I don't get this they them stuff. You know what I mean? Even if they're a little bit combative.
Mm-hmm.
Is it combative? Is that the word? Is that how you say it?
I don't even know.
Is it combative? or combative. I'm gonna say
Uh,
competitive. The people are met with such a hostile response
mm-hmm,
for kind of being, even if they're like a little bit like that doesn't make sense to me. Why are you going? Like, I legitimately think those people literally just need to explain it to them.
mm-hmm. Yes. I think that
But I
we
also
need to see, this is going back to the previous episode, but more people need to be willing to just compassionately explain things to people rather than berating them for not knowing things.
I totally get the emotional reaction though when
Yes, I
someone's like,
do.
what is this? What is this they bullshit? I don't understand that. I totally just want to be like, fuck you, and like just freak the fuck out. But like, it's just not what you're supposed to do.
Uh-huh.
You just don't do that. Like, I understand the impulse, but you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to succumb.
Mm-hmm.
I love saying succumb. It's like my favorite word.
It is a good word.
Anyways, guns.
Guns.
Do you have a personal relationship with guns? Were guns ever present in your life?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I had a stepdad, now ex-stepdad, who was a hunter, and he did bow hunting.
I'm so sorry.
He did bow hunting for deer, and then would also hunt ducks and geese, of course, with a shotgun. But he was the kind of guy who would always keep his shotgun locked up in a safe.
Yeah.
Not that self-defense kind of person. Yeah.
Is that pretty much the extent of your relationship with guns personally?
Yes.
How did you feel about guns like growing up, or just like in your past? Like, has your thoughts and feelings around guns like evolved over time, or have you pretty much held the same positions about them forever?
I think growing up, I didn't really have much of an opinion other than this is a weapon that is dangerous, potentially. But as I
That's more than a lot of people, a lot of children know.
yes, gun violence is the number one killer of children in America. But then as I got older, I started hearing more and more about school shootings. And my opinion kind of gradually got more and more like fearful, not kind of in opposition. And then of course I had my edgy phase, my edgy communism phase, which isn't over, but it's different now. Where I was like, arm the
Do
proletariat.
you still identify as an anarcho-communist?
I think that's accurate. I think that some anarcho-communists would probably hate me for saying that I think that liberals and conservatives are human beings that should be treated with dignity. And they would say, you're not an anarcho-communist for that. But I think it's a relatively accurate way of describing, well, kind of, a little bit. I'm not like, I don't believe that straight up anarchy is functional long term.
But you hold like anarchist principles
Yes,
that guide your worldview?
Yes, I do believe that power corrupts and that governments naturally devolve into corruption over time if they aren't kept in check well enough.
Do you believe that humanity has enough innate goodness to, with under the right circumstances, govern itself?
See, innate goodness is
Like collectively.
this is really complex because, like, in the beginning of humanity, the beginning of Homo sapiens, We know from fossil records that human tribes were going out and killing and eating the children of other tribes. And that was just what they did. And that's pretty innately fucked up. But I think that as generations progress, our morals also evolve with us and become more sophisticated.
Yeah, I honestly think cavemen were pretty problematic.
Yes, deeply problematic.
If you look at, I don't think they had a super nuanced understanding of consent either.
Yeah. But like I think that we have an innate neutrality that is then influenced by the environments we grow up in. I don't believe that humans are innately good, though. At this point, I think that in certain areas I'm relatively faithful that it could work for a time. But I think that our strength as a species is our ability to cooperate, just on a mass scale. And I think that it's a bit silly to say we need to give that up. Say that we should just go back to living in tribes on communes. And that might be, it might be fun and happy for a time, but, it's I want us to keep progressing scientifically and just morally as a species together, rather than splitting off into small groups again.
Yeah, 100%. Average globalism fan. Back to guns, though.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I bring up humanity's innate goodness is because humans are killing each other with weapons of mass destruction, and conservatives and libertarians and the super pro-gun people, they don't believe in, they don't think that a mentally ill loner who has nothing but hate in his heart for the rest of humanity, they don't think he should be allowed to murder people. They don't believe he should be allowed to kill those kids, but they will help him every single step of the way. They will give him the gun,
mm-hmm.
despite the obvious red flags.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't understand why society can't collectively decide that that's not okay.
I see. See, the thing is I think that there is a lot of, God, what's the word? My vocabulary is shit today. But
so is mine.
God, I lost my train of thought now. I think there it is. I think that there's a lot of indoctrination involved. I think that people are told that the only way to prevent our government from becoming corrupt is to arm ourselves and to go out and shoot them if it gets too bad out there. Which I think at this point in history is an inherently flawed way of thinking. But I think for a lot of people it's just the default way of thinking. And I can see why, because historically that is true. Historically it is good to have the people be armed. But now it's just not a particularly realistic idea.
Especially since there isn't like a militarized revolution that's fighting in the name of everything good that we believe in right now. It's more so just like individuals with children who want to leave clips and AK-47s lying around the house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's fucking stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I think literally people, this is going to be the most generic argument ever, right? But a car You need a license to drive a car. Why? Because if misused, it is a deadly weapon that you need to. You are expected to learn how to use safely. You're expected to learn how to use this thing safely, so you don't fucking kill people, right? And guns that are literal killing machines don't have that barrier behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need a license to drive a car, which could, under certain circumstances, be used to cause people harm. But to purchase a gun, you need virtually nothing. They do a background check if you want to buy it at a fucking store, right? But, like, the background check basically just sees if you're a convicted felon or not. There's very little that's actually done. You don't have to get a psychiatric evaluation. You don't have to prove that you're not a fucking school shooter in the making. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess if it were true that arming yourself made you safer, that AK-47s in the hands of our citizens was somehow protecting us from this great tyranny, or we need them for self-defense or something, then perhaps I would be able to respectfully disagree with gun advocates, but it's not the case. Guns literally increase the risk of violence happening to you. Guns will make you less safe.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a world that has fucking insurance. If you get fucking mugged, give them your wallet and your insurance will take care of it. Don't buy a fucking gun and get both of you killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the idea behind it, the idea of like a disarmed population is very vulnerable to government overreach. And this is historically true. But at this point, if you look at the actual reality of it, you can have the entire population have AK-47s. And that entire population could decide that they're not going to do what the government says anymore and they're going to overthrow it. But military technology has progressed to a point where that doesn't really matter. All you need is someone who is willing to press the nuclear button and have whole square miles wiped off the map. It's just...
Yeah, or even just a helicopter with a machine gun.
Yes, you just...
Like, even as simple as that.
And people say, oh, the U.S. military would never do that to the people of the United States of America, and you know, none of them would go and do that. But if you look at even the last 30 years, we've had civilian homes firebombed by the U.S. government, and we had Waco, and we had Wounded Knee 2, and we had all of these situations that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that there are people who are willing to kill innocents, to kill innocent citizens. And it's...
I wouldn't bring up Waco and say innocent, but they're willing...
Well, there were kids inside who burned alive, and those were pretty
oh yeah,
people.
no, yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess I wouldn't refer to Waco collectively as just like a harmless thing that was shut down by the government. It's just a very I just need to make it. I just don't want to be on record saying anything that could possibly be interpreted as defending the Waco situation, because that was a fucking tragedy.
And see, people love pointing to Waco and saying, oh, it's terrible, that's why we need to be armed. But part of the reason why Waco happened was because they were hoarding arms. And what good did those arms do them against the military technology and strategy of the United States government? And that it's true that it was probably an accident that it ended up burning down. But the point is,
I don't think so at all. That was not an accident.
Maybe, I don't know.
Did you see the fucking selfies they took over the burnt, charred corpses of children?
I didn't see that, actually.
Like, they straight up, the fucking ATF and FBI people straight up just, like, took, like, photos where they're, like, smiling and thumbs up, like, yeah, victory. That fire was not started on accident. There's a whole, you can look all this up. There's the circumstances surrounding the fire are so fucking suspicious, and I don't want to get banned on YouTube.
I withdraw my statement. But it's those, you can't do shit. You can have an AK-47, but that doesn't do anything against advanced military technology. That's just, you're not winning in that fight. And I've had people point at, like, oh, look at the Taliban, look at ISIS. They stood up to the US military. And the reality...
Yeah, wow, those great. Those great people.
The reality of those situations, though, is that ISIS and the Taliban have been repeatedly eradicated over the course of decades, just over and over and over again. But they kept coming back. And the why it's so difficult to win wars like that, and this gets into a philosophy, anti-war philosophy, that I'm really passionate about, but the cyclical nature of violence. The more war you wage, the more what's the word? I guess the more innocent civilians will end up getting killed just as collateral damage. And then
suffering.
Yes, and then those people, the loved ones of the people who are killed, or just the people who are suffering in general, will go, fuck the US government, and they will take up arms. And the only way to truly end this is to just completely eradicate this population of people, which obviously doesn't work because this, for so many reasons, and obviously the ethical, moral reasons. But it's not like ISIS and the Taliban won against the US military. It's just that we decided after a while, this isn't really going anywhere. They're just going to keep coming back. So, whatever. They didn't.
And we don't care about people in other countries.
Yes, this is true.
Our government doesn't give a fuck about the people suffering in the Middle East.
This is true. And that's one of many reasons why I believe if we're going to interfere at all with the conflicts in other countries, it should be purely humanitarian aid, because getting involved militarily that's just opening a whole new can of worms that is essentially bottomless. Unless you're willing to do unspeakable things.
Yeah, which is, I mean, the thing that people want to defend, the unspeakable.
Mm-hmm.
The suffering of millions of people. And we get into tanky shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people who say the Russian Revolution and the USSR was all fucking amazing, and all the suffering that was caused were just necessary sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Maoist China.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, dude, I'm so tired of seeing people, like, get away with defending
mm-hmm.
the Russian Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Just because a revolution started on good principles does not mean you have to defend it to the fucking grave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's going back to the original point, it's just not a good idea to get into armed conflicts, especially with obviously superior military powers. And every instance in the United States where you see someone who took up arms against the US government, every single time that person ended up dead. Plus their family members in many, many instances. It's it's just not a good idea. It's detached from reality. You're not going to win against the US government with your assault rifle.
And I guess that brings us to, so like once we establish that assault rifles are utterly worthless for the purpose that people are defending them for, you start to realize that assault rifles are doing nothing but cause harm.
Mm-hmm.
They're nothing but causing more casualties in like gang violence and shit like that. Just providing people with a more destructive weapon when they want to commit acts of terrorism. You're just increasing the number of casualties in so many situations. Like you're just multiplying them
Mm-hmm.
and squaring them just constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Just by having access to this fire rate.
Mm-hmm.
Just these super high fire rate. That's really what it is. Because pretty much any fucking bullet will kill you. Any, like, there exists like very tiny caliber bullets that will like probably not kill you, but for the most part, most standard gun ammunition will kill you if you get shot in the face.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have a fucking machine gun or a super fast semi-automatic weapon, you could just point at what you want to die and push the die button a million times.
Mm-hmm.
You get like way more shots.
And
if you have a fucking shotgun, you can't do that. If you have a handgun, you can do that significantly less.
I've had people say, like, oh, but you could kill just as many people with a hunting rifle, and
You could not.
This is, yes, you couldn't. There is, when you have these extended mags that have just an absurd number of shots, like you said, you can just point and shoot and it dies. And
literally anyone who's played a fucking video game knows that, by the way.
Yes, and you don't need to even have good aim. You can just spray across a hallway and then boom, a bunch of people are dead. With something like a hunting rifle or even a handgun, like you need to have good aim. You need to be able to like focus on a moving target and hit it with a single shot. But when you can fire out this ridiculous number of bullets per minute, that just, you really don't. You can just shoot wherever you want, as long as it's into a crowd of people, and you'll get a huge number of casualties.
Yeah, especially when that's your goal, is to kill just as many people as possible. Maybe if you're trying to fucking assassinate a politician or something, then like a hunting rifle would be better than an AK-47,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even then, that's arguable. But I really sound like I'm telling people to assassinate politicians. I'm genuinely saying that this is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
If you yeah, it's just assault rifles serve zero purpose other than to kill a bunch of people, and that's why the military has them. There's just no logical justification for owning an assault rifle, or in my opinion, semi-automatic weapons in general.
Mm-hmm. And I'm
pretty much any. Go on.
I'm willing. Like, this is, I agree with you personally, but I'm willing to compromise with people and say, just, you can own this. You just think it's neat and fun, whatever. That's fine. But just having mandatory gun safety and having lockup laws and having mandatory background checks and just having these checks and balances to make it more difficult for complete nutcases who want to go and murder a bunch of school children. Just make it more difficult for them to get their hands on these weapons. And it's true that a lot of these shooters were just getting guns from their parents. But would they be able to do that if those guns were locked up and they didn't know the passcode? This is just a simple,
I think so.
This is a simple, easy thing that we can do that would prevent a very large number of these complete disasters. And it's true that the risk isn't isn't zero. Someone can still go grab a knife and go hurt and kill a whole lot of people. But it's just that much more difficult. You know?
Yeah, I personally think that literally if anybody is allowed to have an assault rifle, enough are going to slip through the cracks that these fucking shootings are going to happen. They'll either steal it from their fucking neighbor's house, or if you're nobody distrusts their child enough. No parent of a mass shooter ever fucking saw it coming. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
No parent of a mass shoot, like no parent of like a school shooter, like a kid, would ever in a million years imagine that their kid was going to take their gun and go kill people at their own school. Um, and it is because of that that I don't trust people to truly hide the weapons from their children.
Mm-hmm.
I think generally speaking, gun owners are much more concerned with hiding their weapons from potential intruders, which, by the way, is fucking stupid. Putting all your guns in a safe, you know, you gotta unless it's well hidden, you're gonna have an intruder. Oh, what's that? Open that shit up, or I'll fucking blow your head off. I don't know. I just see no reason to allow people to have assault weapons. They do nothing but cause more harm, more casualties, and any like justification people have come up with for the ownership of them among our general populace has just not held any water. It's just fucking stupid. And I completely agree when they say, guns don't kill people, people do," or whatever. Yeah, obviously. This is we're dealing with a mental health issue, right? And I don't, this is a controversial thing sometimes because a lot of people attribute the tragedies committed by white people to mental illness, and tragedies committed by people of color to malice and just inherent evil. And that's a bias that is obviously disgusting. But I truly believe that mental health is the reason why terrorism happens, for the most part, including gang violence and just everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it's because guns are in the hands of our population that these tragedies are happening. I just genuinely think that's a serious damage control we could do by banning assault weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I think guns, there was a time where our country was healthy and mature enough to own weapons like that. In the 1960s. This is something a lot of pro-gun people actually bring up, and it is true. In the 1960s, there were like no mass shootings, like ever. And also, fully automatic machine guns were completely legal. Like anyone could buy a machine gun. And there were like no mass shootings. So there are obviously circumstances in which a population can handle that sort of thing, but right now is clearly not the case. In times of civil unrest, high crime rates, fucking kids shooting up their own schools, like this is just not a political, social, socioeconomic landscape that is ready to have assault weapons in their hands.
Mm-hmm. And I agree. I just worry that some people are so deep and so indoctrinated that they will never accept that. So that's why I say that I'm willing to compromise, but I do agree with you.
I totally I'm pretty radically anti-gun, and I used to be very pro-gun. So that's why it's just a topic that I've been passionate about my whole life. And the thing with me is I've just grown to hate guns and everything they do. I genuinely believe the world would be such a better place if guns never existed. If we were still fighting wars with fucking spears and swords and shields and shit, that would be a much safer world to live in. But guns are an inevitable reality we have to accept. But unlike a lot of other people, I don't think that means we have to have them in the hands of our population. I genuinely don't think people should buy guns. I completely disagree with the leftist, Marxist arm yourself initiative, especially the queer people need to arm themselves to defend themselves ideology. I think that's terrible. The most suicidal demographic on Earth, buying a bunch of weapons, not a good idea. How do you feel about the arm trans people initiative? That's being pushed by like mainstream left-winged media.
I guess I see the reasoning behind it, and I think that it could be beneficial in that it would make people feel more safe. That is pretty much the only benefit of arming yourself for the express purpose of self-defense. It makes you feel more secure. Um, but I do agree that it's really flawed logic at the end of the day, and it's it's not like, I mean, we already know that the police hate trans people, hate queer people, and a lot of other parts of the government hate trans and queer people. This is very obvious. Um, and it's not like if, say, a trans woman was attacked and genuinely shot and killed someone in self defense, it's not like she would get away with that. She she would be like, I would be willing to bet money on it that in many most cases, um, she would end up being sent to prison or, God
Yeah,
forbid,
100%.
executed. And
And also,
it's just not.
as a movement, as a political movement, arming yourself is the number one way to make you an enemy of the government.
Yes.
If you are arming yourself, there are circumstances in which I think people have like had really good optical justifications for arming themselves. I think the Black Panther Party, how they would patrol the police with fucking like AK-47s was badass and very effective. But like right now, like, you know, in these times and under these circumstances and pretext, I don't believe that the queer movement is. I think we all really look up to like the Black Panther Party and see how much that they accomplished. And I I hate to say this. I hate to say this about my fellow people, but I think queer people really want to be black people. They want to have that same. They want to have the same civil rights movement.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And but we're not. We're first of all.
Hold on. Let me say something.
Maybe we
Let me say something.
go on.
And we like looking at the Black Panther Party and looking at what they accomplished and looking at how they armed themselves and how effective that was for a time. But look at what inevitably happened to the Black Panther Party. It's not it.
Yeah.
They were obliterated. They were.
Yeah.
All of their leaders were murdered in their beds, and like with the murder of Fred Hampton, like he was in bed with his pregnant wife when he was shot through the walls.
Yeah.
And it's just that's gonna be the outcome every time. We can't trust the U.S. government to not do these things. They've proven time and time again that they will.
I think a lot of trans people who want to be these badass civil rights activists, I really hate to say this, but I think they kind of want that.
Yes, I agree.
They want this like poetic, cinematic like story.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, this is people don't want to fucking hear this. Leftists don't want to hear this. We change by electing the lesser of two evils and keeping psychotic bigots out of office. That's how we fucking change things. We change things with peaceful protesting. We change things with the shit that we're already doing. And we're succeeding. The majority of the population is either on track to be super trans supportive or is already super trans accepting. We are winning. And so far we didn't need to arm ourselves. And I don't think we need to now. I don't think all of a sudden we need to. People like who saw the gay nightclub shootings, I believe there were multiple in the past decade. Like when they saw those, they're like, "Oh, the LGBT, we need to defend ourselves." Like, and this is another really harsh reality I have to pound into people's heads. Most queer people aren't really facing the threat of being attacked. Like, I'm sorry, but like most gay, like the majority of gay folks are not gonna be attacked on the street by some like homophobic slasher villain. You're not gonna run into that situation. The the odds of that happening to you, like if wandering the streets, being concerned about that happening to you is psychotic, in my opinion. Um, maybe if like a gay bar was keeping a shotgun behind the counter or whatever, like that's a perfectly justified reaction to that. But people like literally just like arming themselves with fucking weapons that they don't even know how to fucking use is just horrible. We're seeing teenagers and people in their early 20s who've never held a weapon in their life because they were fucking horrified of weapons until they saw a Karl Marx quote about guns. We see them arming themselves and we're just seeing a... Do I need to say more?
You don't need
We're seeing
to say more.
A bunch of mentally ill, suicidal people arm themselves with deadly military weapons that they don't need at all. It's completely unwarranted, and you see what happens when more guns are in the hands of people. The potentiality of violence is instantly escalated. Guns make you less safe. Bringing guns to protests. You saw the fucking Kyle Rittenhouse situation. You see what happens when fucking dumbasses bring guns, military weapons, to situations where there's high escalated conflict. Like, just terrible shit happens, man.
Yep.
And it could all be prevented by not bringing fucking guns everywhere. Just stop buying guns. And Joe Biden, take them away. Get them out of here. Take the guns away. Yes, I'm a gun-grabbing liberal. This is the one thing I side with the liberals on. Get rid of the fucking guns. There's no reason to have them. Oh, the armed proletariat. The armed proletariat is going to get fucking obliterated with the press of a button. The moment if we reach any amount of success as the proletariat, right? If the proletariat reaches any revolutionary stage where they're a potential threat to the security of the U.S. government in its current state of being, one button and we're all fucking gone. There's no reason. It's a waste of fucking... You're expending the safety of so many people for this fucking delusion that you have. And it's terrible.
It's kind of whatever organization you have where you say, we're queer people and we're arming ourselves and we're going to do stuff in our community, that is almost guaranteeing that your organization is going to be completely obliterated. That's just, it's dooming yourself to fail from the very beginning. And
you see, as the conservatives are saying right now, as their reaction to trans people arming themselves, and I would say reasonably so, given their lack of information and ignorance, are fucking horrified of queer people now. When a conservative sees queer people with a bunch of guns, they're like, oh, now we gotta buy guns too. They probably already have guns, a lot of these people. But creating this idea that there's this conflict and each side needs to arm themselves, you are just... I'm not saying that there's gonna be a fucking civil war in the streets, because that's not gonna happen. But the mindset of a civil war is being created, and the arming of the population and this like fantasy of guerrilla warfare, because let's be real, that's what it is being fed, and it's gonna lead to violence. It's gonna lead to more and more violence. If people just got rid of this idea that they needed to arm themselves, so many lives can be saved. So much tragedy and suffering can be prevented.
Yep. And it is... See, I debated with myself a little bit about saying this before coming on the podcast, because it feels antagonistic and it feels like it's not going to be productive to say, but I feel like at the end of the day, it's a harsh reality that people need to acquaint themselves with. It is 100% just a power fantasy. You are just fantasizing about getting into this armed conflict and dying like a martyr, or succeeding and overthrowing the US government. And it is all a fantasy. It's just it's disconnected from reality. And the bottom line of it is, to a lot of people, it seems like these fantasies are more important to them than the actual lives of queer people, the lives of children. Because those are the people who have the most to lose here. And it's, and I like want to just shake them sometimes, because it is, they can't, they're so deep in this power fantasy that they don't realize the terrible implications of what they're advocating for. And it's not like I think that everyone who thinks this is a bad person. I think that they're deep in a delusion and need to be woken up from it.
I think it's either that power fantasy or it's like an unwarranted paranoia.
Yes. And we shouldn't, a paranoia we shouldn't be encouraging. We don't want people to be...
paranoia we shouldn't be encouraging.
We don't want people to be... It's true that hate crimes against queer people are on the rise. But it is also true, like you said earlier, that it is more than likely that this will never happen to you. And we do not want people to be walking around fearing attack constantly. Do you think that is a good recipe for quality of life for them? Do we want queer people to be happy and free? That is not happiness and freedom. And it's not productive either. It's not like they're going to be more prepared for an attack if it does happen.
And paranoia like that, especially shared paranoia, like say between conservatives horrified of trans people that are to come shoot them, and then trans people who are horrified of conservatives shooting them, that sort of mutual paranoia will become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes, exactly.
The potentiality of violence is dramatically increased when two demographics are horrified of each other
and arming themselves.
Horrified of each other and arming themselves. You are actively increasing the potentiality of this imagined conflict.
Yes.
And it's 100% manufactured and fucking perpetrated by media, politicians. Like, of course, obviously this division is weaponized, right? Obviously it's not the fault of the people. Really, no sentiment is the fault of the people who exhibit it, right? We're all a product of our surroundings and the fucking puppets that control our day-to-day lives. But that doesn't mean we can't hold people accountable for the behavior they exhibit. And it doesn't mean we can't encourage people to believe in something more accurate. I don't know how to word that. To just be more empirical, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. I saw Cenk Uygur the other day being like, guns, they make you more unsafe, but unless you're a trans person, if you're a trans person, you should buy guns. And it just frustrated me to see like a respected and respectable. I like Cenk Uygur. I think the Young Turks are a respectable network. They're kind of cringe liberal sometimes, but they're a good network. And just to see them spouting that is just so frustrating. To see that this idea getting into the minds of respectable people is really sad, because it's so not based in logic.
Yes. I think part of the reason people might be peddling this is because it ignites people's passion. It makes them want to fight the good fight. And I think at the end of the day, it's people like believing in power fantasies. The whole point is that it makes them feel strong. And I think that it's a manipulation tactic, honestly.
100%. At the end of the day, it's just manufactured outrage. And manufactured outrage makes numbers on screen go up for a variety of different elites.
Yep.
Should I not say elites? Because I hear a lot of people, like, they say, like, when they hear the word elites, they immediately think it's like an anti-Semitic dog
I
whistle.
think global,
which I never
elites,
thought was the case.
Global elites is definitely an anti-Semitic dog whistle, so you're kind of flirting with it a little
Yeah.
bit. But I don't know a better way
I just
to
don't want to
refer
be
to them in this
perceived.
context. The 1%ers, I guess.
I keep on referring to this like mysterious like
The ruling
I literally
class.
said yeah. I'm just gonna say I don't know, I'll just say the bourgeoisie, the bourgeoisie. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable like embracing that like the idea of that division because I do believe in the proletariat and I do believe in the Marxist understanding of class conflict.
It's just that this understanding was of over 100 years ago, of that time period, before we had true assault rifles.
No, 100%, yeah. And I'm not a Marx simp. I think he exhibited a lot of very bitter, and just like I'm gonna say it, hateful. I think Marx was a very bitter and hateful man. Hatred. Yeah. What did MLK say? He was like, hatred cannot drive out hatred. Only love can do that. I agree with that wholeheartedly, and that's not my way of saying we should apologize for our own oppression. We should succumb to the forces that are just fucking us. I do believe we ought to eat the ones who starved us, but hatred is not hatred as a motivating factor is not going to reach us to our desired conclusion.
Yes, I completely agree.
It should be not the hatred for the oppressor, but the love for each other and the desire for a better life.
And this is another one of the things where if I say that I agree more with MLK's philosophies than what Malcolm X's philosophies were for the majority of his life, then people...
I love that. I love every time someone mentions Malcolm X, they always got to say for the majority of his life.
Yeah, because at the end of his life...
He really had like a glow up and then just died.
Yes. Probably murdered by the U.S. government, but anyway.
I disagree, personally, but go on.
Okay, whatever. Different discussion. People go lib, fake leftist, just bandwagon loser, but it's true. It's true that it's more effective over long periods of time. Do you think that violent uprisings were going to accomplish the same thing as what MLK and his people did with peaceful protest and civil disobedience? Because when you do civil disobedience, when you do peaceful protest and document it, and you document the violence that is perpetrated against you, then you broadcast all of that, you're gonna earn yourself way more sympathizers than if they see videos of you like in violent conflict with the police. If they see videos of you being beaten and attacked with dogs and sprayed with fire hoses, just like existing peacefully, they're gonna be way more inclined to sympathize with you. That is how you change people's minds. And changing people's minds is how you change... If you want to change your society for the better, that is how you do it.
I'm gonna give my hot take on Martin Luther King. I think we should be more like Martin Luther King, like narrative, buzz phrase, whatever you want to call it, that sentiment is 100% something that's been weaponized and manufactured by reactionaries who want us to have this like who essentially want to discourage like radicalism or extremism, which I proudly identify as an extremist, but they have this it's this idea of MLK that they have in their heads that is not entirely accurate.
Yes.
The more you learn about MLK, the more based you realize he actually was.
Yes. And okay, you aren't allowed to argue with me on this. MLK was definitely murdered by the U.S. government. There is not a single doubt in my mind.
No, I agree.
And
I just don't think everyone was murdered by the U.S. government.
Yes. But MLK was murdered by the U.S. government for speaking out against Vietnam. And they did that because
100%,
MLK was a figure who had a great deal of power with the American populace, even if his approval rate was
even
at an
among
all-time
white
low.
conservatives.
Yes. Even his,
all the way up to like white conservatives.
At the time of his death,
MLK was a very respected man.
At the time of his death, his approval rating was at an all-time low. It was at 15% or something. But even if he was able to sway the minds of that 15%, that is extremely dangerous and really undermining the power of the U.S. government. They can't have this third party who they have no control over having this huge amount of control over the populace. So they killed him. And they killed him, and then they created this clean, packaged, easily marketable, manageable version of MLK that we could go, oh, MLK, he died for our sins, you know. Just in that is exactly what happened.
MLK, man, he truly was I don't think MLK died for our sin. I wouldn't say that, but he certainly was a Christ-like figure. Like, holy fucking shit, dude. He was I don't like I think you said this on one of our episodes. Like, pretending that Martin Luther King was like a unambiguous force of good with no flaws, like a completely unflawed character, is obviously wrong, and we ought to teach history how it was and present the humanity in everyone. But holy fucking shit, dude. Martin Luther King was just very this is like the most cold, mundane take you could possibly have, but he was fucking based. Yes. I love Martin Luther King, man.
I completely
he was
agree.
So good. Everything from his ideology to his practice, like any like revolutionary activist throughout history seems like they were like had really good theory or really good revolutionary skills or really good leadership, but like very rarely does somebody like strike all three. Very rarely. And it's, I don't know. I just think I don't like these fucking God. I don't like the
MLK antis.
Blue-haired. Yeah, I don't like the anti-MLK people. I understand that the sentiment, we gotta be more like MLK, has been weaponized. It's a reactionary thing. But that doesn't give us the right to, like, undermine what MLK managed to accomplish. And just, oh, God.
Yep.
And it's mostly white people. Like most of this anti-MLK shit is coming from white people. Like, yes. Almost all of it.
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever seen a single black person be like, yo, MLK, you didn't go far enough.
Yeah, and it is, a lot of people will then point to the assassination of MLK and be like, look, it didn't work. But what MLK was assassinated specifically because he was so dangerous because of how effective he was. He was so effective that he had to be killed. And look at what he accomplished in the meantime, before they finally went, okay, this has gone too far, we've got to kill this guy. Look at what he accomplished. He transformed half of our country. And more. It's just... We need to do it again. We need to do it again. We need to have similar movements, and that is how we are going to get acceptance for queer people. That's how we are going to, because it is true that black people still have it really fucking tough in this country. He did not single-handedly fix all of the problems.
And I said this on the last episode. If you look at the true ideals and goals of all the big civil rights activists, we're not even close to the future that they truly desired. Same thing with like the feminist movement or original like sexual revolution. That's more obvious, but like people really like to act like the civil rights movement kind of just completely bridged the gap and the inequality that black and white people have in this country.
Mm-hmm.
And it's certainly still a battle
it's just more,
that is fighting. It's just
more covert now, and we need
yes.
to just have similar movements to continue making progress in these areas. That's the way you do it. It doesn't. His movement didn't fail because he was murdered and because it wasn't taken to completion. He was extremely successful. He, in such a short amount of time, transformed so much. We just need to keep doing it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Demigloom?
What do I think?
I think that, from sitting in my computer chair upright this entire time, I'm now drenched in sweat. And I think I'm ready to wrap it up.
It's hot as fuck
It
out
is.
here. Yeah. I guess I was originally going to touch on my personal relationship with guns, but then realized I didn't really have a whole lot to say. My father was a big gun nut, still is. He would take me to the shooting range, and I would shoot his guns, and we'd have a really good time. We really bonded over guns. I still think, and I guess I should have made this clear earlier. Listen, man, like, I'm willing to admit it. I hope everyone else is willing to admit it. Guns are pretty fucking cool, dude. I like guns. They're cool. But like I just don't think that there's a moral justification for the ownership of them. But like if people want to be honest with themselves and be like, yeah, they're bad, but they are really cool though, I'd be like, yeah, totally. Guns are fucking awesome. I got to shoot my father had an AK-47, a Stoker 12 gauge shotgun, and a Glock. And my favorite was actually my ex-stepmom's 38 revolver. That shit was, oh dude, it's badass. There's something beautiful about the revolver that I like. It's just the simplicity of it all. Like I've never like the super high-tech weapons. I consider like a Glock to be high-tech. It's just a super modern like pistol. The old-fashioned hammer, what the fuck do they call the little thing?
I don't know.
What that has the bullets
I'm the
in it.
exact wrong person to ask.
Yeah. I don't remember what it's called. It's just the super like simple mechanical nature of the revolver is something that I can appreciate from I don't know what is the artistic medium of just like designing machinery or like mechanical
I
shit?
guess engineering would be the correct term. It's not conventionally considered art, but I think it should be. I think that we need to really expand what we consider art beyond oil paintings, because I think that there's a lot of creative mediums that should be referred to as art that aren't.
Yeah, for sure.
I am constantly in awe of the splendor of our universe, and I wish more people were, because there's a lot to appreciate out there. It's not all doom and gloom.
Yeah, except me. Everybody needs to stop being depressed and cynical. But I personally, Demigloom, I am living under certain pretexts that make it physically impossible for me to be happy. Only I get to be happy, but none of you guys, or only I get to be sad. None of you guys get to be though. You guys have to cheer up. You guys have to go play with animals and cheer the fuck up. I get to be sad though. I get to be suicidal. You guys can't kill yourselves. Only I can. Just want to make that clear. But anyways, yeah, we should probably wrap this up about now. Is there anything else you want to talk about really quickly?
Not really. I think I've said.
I know the moment.
I've said all I want to say.
Gone.
Talked about why it's not effective to arm yourself, the damage that arming yourself does, and alternatives to arming yourself. So that's pretty. We got a good array.
Yeah. I know the moment I hit stop recording, I'm gonna think of like 14 better ways I could have phrased things or talking points that I didn't bring up. I'm already thinking of some right now, so I'm just gonna end this, where can our listeners find you, Felonious Ferris?
Twitter, YouTube, where I don't post anything. Tumblr.
We're gonna sit down and make a video
Yes,
essay together,
yes.
and it's gonna come out, and it's gonna happen. The Felonious Ferris YouTube channel will be kickstarted. Also, change your YouTube profile picture. It's the cool
Yes.
one.
Okay, yes.
But yeah, I'm Demigloom. You can find me. Listen to there's a podcast I do with bad people called The Issue Crew. You've probably heard of it. If you want to listen to me yell with a bunch of stupid people, go listen to The Issue Crew. It's a more lighthearted podcast than this one. But you could also find me on pretty much any social media. I think I'm gonna move back to Instagram. I think that's where I'm gonna be. For a long time, I've been a Twitter whore. I'm done. Twitter it's terrible, and it's not like Elon Musk. No, Twitter was fucking dog shit long before Elon Musk, and it's just a platform that discourages like anything productive or sentimental or cute. Like, I can go on Instagram, and if I want, my Instagram can just be an endless feed of adorable cat videos that will make my day brighter.
Listen.
That you can't do that on Twitter.
I actually have accomplished this on Twitter. I've figured out how to manipulate the Twitter algorithm so it only shows me pictures of cats. It's possible. It's just much more difficult.
I'm following like 2,000 accounts, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of fucked. Unless I want to make a new account. But yeah, I also have a YouTube channel called Demigloom. Just look up Demigloom. I got some shitty, like, bad video essays on there. Like, I think the arguments in my videos are good, but the visuals, they're just really shittily produced. And I'm not super proud of them. Go watch The Femboy Problem by Demigloom. It's dude, that's my magnum opus. I love The Femboy Problem. It's such a good video. Yes. We need to formally establish the trans femboy alliance. We've been divided for too long. But anyways, that's it. I've been Demigloom.
Bye-bye.
You're supposed to say I've been Felonious Ferris.
I've been Felonious Ferris. Bye-bye.
I just lost a subscriber on YouTube. What the fuck? I had 333, now it's 332.
No. YouTube
It was you, wasn't
No, YouTube unsubscribes you. It's a glitch, don't you know?
Yeah. Also, like this video, or rate us 5 stars on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever the hell you are. We don't get enough engagement like, a lot of people like message me personally. I'm like, just comment it down below so it looks like more people are listening.
Yes, please do comments. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, instead of DMing me how great the podcast, instead of messaging me and telling me how great the podcast is, comment it down below and like the video so we can actually accomplish something. But yeah, anyways, that's been it. Bye.